Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, all of my beautiful friends from the internet. I hope each and every single one of you is doing absolutely spectacular on this fine Tuesday morning, whenever you happen to be listening to this podcast episode, whether that be morning, evening, or night. Welcome to the Reddit Asks Us podcast, the podcast where we read and react to comments from r/Askreddit. I am your host, Luke Dick. Now remember, if you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast, I saw one said Castbox or your Amazon Alexa, please go ahead and leave us a rating and also leave us a review. It helps out the show so immensely much. It gets the show recommended to other people, and it has the potential to, increase the reach of our community, which is it's already so much. But I would always welcome newcomers. And there was no doubt about that. So thank you all so much for those of who have done so already. And if you haven't done so, please go ahead and do that. Remember, you can respond to this week's question by going to the description of the episode in Spotify, and you can comment down below, and you will be notified when your comment is published, and I'll read those responses out loud on the next week's following episode, which is always such a treat. It is so cool to have everyone participate in the show. It's just it's such a highlight of my week. This is an ad-supported show, so we will take a break. I don't know if the ads play on other platforms, but they do on Spotify, so we will take a break about 10 to 15 minutes into the show, and then we'll take another one about 20, 30 minutes into the show after that. Please go ahead and join our subreddit, r/Reddit Asks Us on Reddit, where there's a new mega thread posted every single week where we talk about all things podcast and Reddit stuff related, I guess. And make sure you participate in the polls. We do a poll every week. So if you haven't done so, I'll read out the responses of the previous week's poll and the Would You Rather. So I'm actually just kind of bringing this up right now. But until that moment occurs, why don't I go ahead and start reading? Ooh, this is interesting. Ooh, okay. I'm going to start reading the responses from last week's episode. So last week's episode was, what couldn't you believe you had to explain to an adult? First one comes from the Green Changeling, and this is just a comment generally on the episode. Brain temporarily stopped responding for the following answers: underwater balcony, European, New Zealand, and camo paint before it finally blue screened on the one sun per country. Are schools around the world that bad? Also, for the record, you can get buckets of multicolored paint in predetermined patterns. All you have to do is identify as a cartoon character. For the poll, pausing time equals more sleep. That's fair, but you're only pausing time for like 10 minutes, though. Like, I don't really know if that's making that much of a difference. Maybe for you, though, it is. But yeah, I did hear, though, if you applied to the Acme company, they do give out buckets of paint that allow you to paint only in Nevada for some weird reason. You can go to Nevada, and it allows you to paint tunnels on rocks, but only for blue birds. And it's supposed to confuse the birds, I guess, into thinking that that's a tunnel, and it's going to run into the tunnel. But I have heard, though, that you need to be an employee of the Acme company, because I think it has to do with proprietary products that they produce, right? It has to do with some intellectual property sort of stuff on that end. So if you apply to the Acme company, and I think, or maybe even just endorse the Acme company, there is a potential, there might be a clause in the contract where you also have to be a wolf or a coyote. Actually, it's really a coyote. It is, because that's if we're going to use the correct vernacular here, it's the coyote. So I think you have to become a coyote or identify as a coyote in some respect. But there is a way around it, right? There's always a loophole. It's always about finding the loopholes, right? So if you do the right things, get on the right track, then who knows? You could be experiencing your first camo-colored paint or paint that just paints directly on a wall in the form of a tunnel. Wouldn't that be awesome? But I heard it's only tunnels, though. That's all it does. They don't have paint. The technology isn't good enough to paint other things. Next one comes from a special little cat. I don't have anything for this topic since I'm just a baby. I hope you're having a good day, everyone. It's the first day of school back from summer. Sigh. Damn, there's like another comment, I think. Yeah, later there's another comment saying people are back in school. School starts for us tomorrow. Like literally when you're listening to this podcast will be my first day back at university. And I'm pretty sure this is it's the same for like kids in high school and elementary school. Like, why is everybody starting school so friggin' early? I know that in Australia they start in July or something. I think that's when the semester starts for people. But, geez, they're really getting everybody back on the school train. This is kind of depressing. I hope this podcast maybe brightens up your day. Next one comes from L Dude. I don't have any adults. JK. And I also was on last week's comment, by the way. That response was really wholesome, though. Thank you. No problem. I mean, we're always happy to have everybody participating in the show. And it's true, though. Everyone's a friend of the show, and we all become a community when we're... I wish you guys could reply to each other in the comments. That would be really fun. I think Spotify should add that. I think it would create a little bit more of a communal feel to the show. It'd be cool to build something and participate and then get maybe more of a conversation going. So I don't know. I might email Spotify and I might pull a few strings at Spotify with this tiny podcast. P.S. I played Dungeons and Dragons once, but my friend was such a bad dungeon master that I didn't go again. LOL. Not to be unfair towards him, but he does not have the patience or coolness to be a dungeon master, unlike me, who is very cool and probably too cool to be a dungeon master. That's very fair. I think being a dungeon master, that's a heavy name. It comes with a lot of weight, you know? You have to be willing that people are gonna look at you kind of funny when you talk about the fact that you're a dungeon master. So you gotta have patience. You can't get frustrated with people, and you gotta be upfront and be like, listen, I know what you're thinking, dungeon master, whips, ball gags, all the whole 9 yards, okay? But that is not what we're doing here. Okay, this is actually serious. That stuff, we have a different name for that stuff. But this stuff, this is strategic, okay? We're working on strategy. We're breaking down the limits of human creativity here. We're pushing the envelope, everybody, okay? And then we do that other stuff. But that's only after we've completed the quest, okay? Next one comes from Ghost. Luke, I responded last week, but it was too late. Rest in peace. But great episode, thanks. And I was having a sleeper, and I have a sleeper build, but my body looking like prime Conor McGregor at the UFC fighter when my shirt off. But when it on, I look like a damn twig. Hope y'all having a great day. Stay ghostly. #ghost. Is this what? I don't know what that is in response to be honest. I have no idea. That has nothing to do with, you couldn't believe you had to explain that to an adult like me? Like, I can't believe I have to explain it. I look like Conor frickin' McGregor to you. Jeez, I'm freaking jacked, man. Oh, take off my shirt. We're going tarps off, baby. It's tarps off. Tarps off only when I'm around. When I'm listening to this podcast, it's tarps off. Reddit Asks Us podcast equals tarps off. That's how we're listening to the show only. I'm on the bus. As soon as this gets queued up on Amazon or Spotify or Apple, I am tearing through my shirt. I need everyone to know that I'm listening to the Reddit Asks Us podcast. So I'm just ripping my shirt open. It's tarps off, baby. And it's like fighter stance. Like, I'm getting ready to fight off some people because this is some serious business we're working with. Not to poke fun, but I just thought that was funny. Next one comes from Moonlight. My class had to explain the Lego movie to my teacher today. I have some unfortunate news. Okay, guys, brace yourselves. This is big. This is a bomb. I have actually never seen the Lego movie. And I know, you guys I'm going to get crucified for this, okay? Like, I'm going to get burned for this, but I've heard great things about it. I've honestly heard that it's actually like a lot of people's favorite movie. It is actually that good. And don't get me wrong, I watched a lot of Lego content as a kid. The Lego cartoons and stuff. Ninjago, all that kind of stuff. I was a fan. I was a fan of the OG Lego movie and cartoons and stuff, but I just haven't seen the Lego movie. And I know that might be devastating news, especially because I just checked my audience analytics, and it turns out most of you are 17 or under. That is wild. So I'm like, this podcast, are you sure you guys should be listening to this podcast? This is a very X-rated, not X-rated, oh my God. This is a porn podcast. No, I'm just kidding. This is a very R-rated, like, NC-17 type of podcast. We don't get too crazy here. We don't get too crazy, don't get too wild, but yeah, this is not for kids. So I really hope that most of you guys are in high school and, that you're allowed to be listening to stuff like this. Because we deal with the heavy topics on this show, okay? We're talking about poop, okay? We're talking about butts. We're talking about in today's episode, you're going to see a lot of scandals, a lot of sex and cheating, and all the juicy stuff that makes life so entertaining. Next one comes from, but also, yeah, I guess I just don't really have much of a comment for that because I've never seen the Lego movie, but it does suck to hear that you were back in school a week ago. What the heck? Who starts school in August? Stressed human. It's like, yeah, why don't we steal the last week of these children's summer? Of these kids' summer. Why don't we just nab that right from them? Oh, you thought you were going to have a full summer off? No. You thought you were going to have all of August off? Nice try. No. We're going to have to steal that. You can't escape it, okay? You can't escape it. We're going to take everything that you think is important to you from you, okay? You don't deserve it. You don't deserve a full summer. No, life sucks, and you need to learn this the hard way. Life is terrible. It's full of suffering and dying and death and tragedy, okay? So there you go. We're just going to steal that last week of summer back from you, and you never had it. You never had it anyway. Next one comes from Stressed Human. What's going on, Stressed Human? I had to explain to my father why hitting a child in the head for being hungry, I was the child, and leads to the child growing up to hate you and deciding to cut you off. You'd think that would be common sense, right? I love your Dungeon Master comments. Had me laughing hard. I chose instruments last week because I'm a very musical driven and already play 4. Piano and guitar, and my favorite of drums. That's cool. For this week's poll, I want to pause time for 10 minutes to hold on to the precious memories a little longer. That's true. But I've also heard that, like, you don't really realize that a moment is, like, important or significant until it's gone. So I feel like that there's, like, a lot of significance to that. Like, I feel like I've kind of noticed that, like every time I've kissed the homies, every time I kiss the homies goodnight, I didn't realize that once the homies weren't around anymore and I had no one to kiss goodnight, that's when I realized those moments were special. So maybe if I could rewind time, then I could go back and relive those moments. But if I paused it, maybe I took it for granted. I took it for granted, as they would say. And then the Dopic responded on Reddit, so we have 2 comments from Reddit. The first one comes from the Dopic. Hi, Luke. For the poll, I think personally for me that pausing time is better. I think the butterfly effect hits harder with the rewind, and that's what trips me up. Well, that's fair. For the question, as the child of first-parent immigrants, I've had to explain a lot of things to my parents, especially my dad. A big thing is say please. Have a great day. You know what? And this would be a massive thing. Like if I was an immigrant somewhere, if I pulled up to another country, I feel like I would be probably seen as like the most rude human being ever. Like I just would not know how to conduct myself. Like that's the biggest thing is like culture shock, especially when you just go to travel someplace and then someone's like, yeah, you need to stop doing that right now, or people are gonna think you're the weirdest fucking person they've ever seen in their lives. Like they might even call the cops. You might get arrested for that. It's like, oh, okay, I will not chew gum in Singapore. Good to know. That's just a joke. I've never been to Singapore, but I think chewing gum's illegal there. Anyways, last one comes from Dear Twist 2693. Sorry, I thought you were a girl comment and I read the mega thread sunscreen thing. Dumb question. Sorry, love the show. I'm glad you love the show. I'm glad you weren't just a random person from Reddit who stumbled upon our subreddit. But don't worry, no such thing as a dumb question, and we're always happy to have anybody and everybody commenting. It's such a pleasure for me to see people participating in any way. So I'm just really appreciative of everybody. Okay, why don't we just take a little short, tiny little itty bitty break, and then we're gonna hop into today's episode.
Hey, it's me, the Quenchies. I'm that late afternoon craving you just can't shake. Wait, what's that? Welch's Grape Aid? No! Made with real fruit and no added sugar, nothing answers the call of the Quenchies like Grape Aid. Got the Quenchies? Grab a Grape Aid in your juice aisle.
Welcome back, everybody, to today's episode of the Reddit Asks Us podcast. We have a juicy one for y'all today, all right? This is full of heartbreak. It's full of deceit. And it's full of, I don't know, I don't really know what else to describe. I'm trying to think of buzzwords they say when you're like watching like a rom-com or something. But why don't we just jump right in? Why don't we just dive directly in? Oh, sorry, I forgot to read the results from last week's poll. Last week's poll was, would you rather pause time for 10 minutes per day or rewind time 10 minutes back per day? Pause time won by only 2 votes, though. It was 60% to 37%. 62% to 37%. So it was like almost a 60-40 split on this one. So it wasn't a given. Okay, this was not a given. This caused some controversy, okay? I don't want to be dividing the group, okay? We don't want to be splitting hairs, all right? We're not trying to divide and conquer, folks. We want to stay with each other, right? The splitting down the middle, it's dangerous, all right? We never know who's on what side. And soon enough, the rewinders and the pausers are, starting to sharpen their pitchforks and light their torches. Shout out to Shrek. All right, so this week's episode, as you can see from the episode title, is what was a non-safe for work scandal in your family? Ooh. First one comes from Radiant Truck 8917. My biological father and grandfather were serial cheats. Runs in the family, I guess. I was always told they hoard around, but after I joined a DNA ancestry service, I saw 42 half-aunts and uncles and 20 half-siblings. It really sunk in. They were both military, so you can track where they were located based on the birthdays of the kids. This is one of those things that they just never thought was ever going to come back to them. But now we've got this like crazy DNA technology. It's like, Grandpa, I actually I can literally see all of your kids. We've started a giant group chat about this. Like, there's really no way you can get around this. And he's like, the technology, who knows how to use it? It's that stuff is it's always making stuff up. That technology these days, it's all too confusing. There's no way those are the right numbers. It's like, no, the grandpa, this is DNA. This is kind of as basic as it gets. Like, there is probably no better way. Like, I could go through, old letters and all these things to try to figure out like who you were talking to, sending letters to. What your interactions were like at the time, trying to make some connections, A to B, make some phone calls. But no, this is actually basic just genetics. Your DNA, you are practically Genghis fucking Khan, okay? You impregnated like half of the population. Like, everybody has a bit of your DNA. You were posted all over the planet. And I know this because I can actually see your DNA in most people. So congratulations, Grandpa. You're basically inbreeding the population right now. But they were both military. So you can track where they're located based on the kids. That's so tough. And then there's a response from Gim Gam replying, says they were making an army. Yeah, maybe that was just the whole. Maybe your grandpa's kind of just like, well, clearly you're very ungrateful. Okay, because we, as a family, our whole point is to stick together, right? And we're not always going to be together. So I was innovating. I had to get creative. I had thought to myself, you know what? How are we going to stick together over these long distances? I guess I'm just going to have to do what I got to do. All right, I got to get down and dirty. All right? But the good thing here is that we're building a family unit. And who knows? I put secret chips in all of your brains that are going to automatically activate in terms of in an apocalypse situation. And we have our own little militia. Okay, we've got our own little militia, and I did the same thing to your father, and I turned his thing on, and now look at him. He's impregnated about the other half of the population. So we're looking pretty good. You should be thanking me, honestly. All right? I never loved your mother, okay? Whatever. Sure, I didn't care about you as my child. I have bigger fish to fry. I really don't think you're quite understanding, and this is not quite settling in for you. I'm doing you a favor. What's going to happen when the rapture happens and everyone gets taken up to heaven and obviously because I cheated on everybody that I ever knew, none of you guys are going to be going to heaven. So what's going to happen? No, this is the time where we need to form our own militia. I'm not religious, by the way. That was just making a joke. But, still stands. What happens when the world economy collapses and we all go into some apocalypse situation? The zombies come, all right? We need to have a unit together. I've already pre-programmed my military training into everybody. So you'll notice it's like an MK Ultra situation here going. As soon as that chip activates, you'll be whipping out the ninja moves and, being able to hold your breath for 20 minutes underwater, even though you never knew you could do that. So you're welcome. Next one comes from Duct Tape Cork Feet. What the hell? My dad slept with my pregnant sister's fiance. That's how we found out they were actually both gay. You know what would really have kind of, made things a little bit just maybe a bit easier to digest that kind of news as a family? Maybe just sitting your family down and just being like, I'm gay. I am not straight. Instead of just, I think you skipped you went from A to Z. You skipped all of the middle steps. And I would arguably say probably the most important steps. He was just like, how do I'm struggling with my sexuality, okay? And how do I come out of the closet to my family? I have to come out to my family. You know what? I'm going to sleep with my daughter's boyfriend. That's the way to go. I think that's because that's undeniable, right? That is just, you can't deny that. There's just no, if someone walks in on us, it's kind of like, well, this is how you were supposed to find out. Instead of doing, maybe I know it's supposed to be the more mature thing, right? To be just sit everybody down, be honest, and tell everybody about these things that are true, and and hope that there's a positive response and that we can all be accepting and loving of each other. But that just kind of sounds kind of boring. That just kind of sounds boring. I just kind of want to spice it up a little bit. So let me have sex with my daughter's fiance. I'm just going to bone him. I'm going to give him the little wink. He's going to be like, yep, I know that wink. And then we're just going to bone. And then we're going to film it. And we're just going to have a family meeting and just watch the tape. I feel like that's probably the best way to go about this situation. I feel like it's gonna be obvious at that point. You know why? Tell you? Why would I tell you when I can just show you? And it's like, I think I don't know what my options here are, but I feel like I need to call the police. I feel like this is this needs to be illegal. This needs to be you can't show me this. This is I am horrified and I hate you. So, yeah. That's a tough one. How do you, come on, bro. Like, I don't care. Like, no one cares if you're gay. I mean, maybe your family, like, whatever situation you're dealing with. I can't speak for that. But, like, I don't think that that's the way to go about telling people you're gay. You know, it's just, there's a lot of other options I think you could take that are much more respectful, you know, dignifying to other people's humanity. You know, I don't think sleeping with your daughter's boyfriend is kind of the way to go on this one. Only my opinion, though, okay? I'm not the be-all, end-all here, but I think that there's a general consensus amongst the population that that's maybe not the way to go about things. Next one comes from The Berg the Word. My aunt was a hoarder, and none of us had ever been in her house. We had suspected for years that she was a lesbian, but never confirmed. This was my grandfather's sister, so she was born around 1913. They were also very Southern and very Baptist. Not exactly a coming-out friendly generation or environment. She was more than a little bit weird, but in a fun way. She was always hilarious to be around and would crack jokes that made other family members clutch their pearls. She was a world traveler with her friend and never had kids. Her friend, who we also never met, was her sole beneficiary, along with a cat rescue. It was always so sad to us that she never felt comfortable sharing her life with us, but I think that generation just never really felt comfortable. Fair enough. This sounds like the beginning of a novel or something. She died very unexpectedly after falling in the shower in the early 90s. Oh my gosh, that is terrifying. Great, I'm never going to be able to shower without thinking about that. We don't have a shower mat in our shower, like in the bottom of it, and I'm just kind of like scared. I'm just, you know, we're just waiting to slip. And there was a while where our drain was plugged, so the water kept piling up, and I would get in and be like, ooh, is this the day that I die? Is this the day that I crack my skull and give myself brain damage for the rest of my life? While they were there, they were going through pictures. Oh, sorry. After falling in the shower, and my mom and some of her cousins were going to clean her home out. While they were there, they were going through a bunch of pictures to find out which ones her siblings might want and come across. And they came across thousands of pictures of penises. Not real life ones, though. Zoomed in ones from statues, paintings, etc., all from around the world. My aunt had zoomed in just into the penis on all of the art. They could find no other pictures of the full piece of art. So, for instance, there was the David, but only his penis. No picture of the whole statue in its entirety that they could find. My mom and her cousin spent a full day having so much fun, laughing their asses off, drinking wine, and trying to figure out what piece of art around the world the penis belonged to. This was pre-Google, so they had to try and do it from memory. One of my cousins still has the photos and apparently turned it into a board game of sorts that she plays with us. Maybe that's what she was doing. Maybe your aunt was just like, this was supposed to be like some pre-Cards Against Humanity type of board game where it's like, guess that penis. You know, she was like, she was kind of thinking like, I don't know if this is going to play well on TV, but you know, I think we're looking for some more adult games, a little bit more mature games where we can be like, that penis, that's a Da Vinci penis. The way that he drew it, the way that it's, you know, it's like, or Michelangelo, you know, he got the stone carvings. That's a Michelangelo penis. If you see the way that, you know, the curvature and the radiuses and the diameters, you know, the smoothness of the balls, right? It's about the smoothness of the balls. That's really where it's at. Because if you truly notice on a lot of the other ones in the fakes, they don't have that same smoothness, okay? It's very particular. Michelangelo was really detailed, and he got that curvature, that nice, you know, sort of shine that it, you know, that happens in real life, but you can capture it in marble. But it's just it's a masterful art, right? It takes a long time to really get that detailed kind of look, and it's in the veins. You got to look at the veins, you know. It's just, these are just okay. This is just art, okay. I know some of you might be disturbed right now, but this is art. This is all it takes. She was ahead of her time. All right, she was making up board games for adults before board games for adults existed. Okay, maybe I'm starting to think now that we should look into who holds the patents on some of these more mature board games. I think we might all find it's in a holding company, right? Who's that holding company owned by? We need to start doing some investigative journalism here, folks. This is what life is for. We got to get to the bottom of it. We got to get to the answers. You know, we might find some information that surprises us. I wonder if she was still alive, if you like brought that up to her and she's like, "You know what? That gosh darn camera, I can't figure that thing out. It's just, it zooms in all on its own. All on its own, it just zooms in and it just takes pictures of things," and I'm just like, it's like, "Grandma, there are 1,000 photos of penises." Like, I don't really understand how you think that this could be a mistake. Like, this is clearly purposefully motivated. Let me look. See, this one's more the balls than it is the penis. Okay, this one's a butt. Okay, this one's a butt. It's like, yeah, but you took pictures of both sides. Well, it's complicated, okay? There's a lot of moving parts, and when you're in the Louvre and when you're in these places full of art, you only get a certain amount of time to take photos and you got to move on. I was doing my best, okay? It's just where the camera happens to go. Sometimes it's a little uncontrollable. You know how I am with technology. It's just I just can't control it. I put the camera up and it's another penis. Great. Now I ruined another trip to France. Great. This is my 10th time being here, and I ruined the 10th time being here because I couldn't get the camera to focus on anything other than the penis. Couldn't just zoom it out. See, I need, this is, I just struggle with cameras, really. That's all it is. I'm not a technologically driven person. You know this about me. It's just a happenstance if we're going to be real and totally true and honest about this. Maybe I'm just going to quit it altogether. I'm just going to quit it altogether. And you know what? If I give it a shot again and a couple penis pictures pop out, I'm going to be like, okay, all right. Looks like we'll have to just accept this. Okay. This is just the way it is. Next one comes from Thanks to Denial. My cousin at the time in her 20s married a guy in his 40s who came with an adult kid, a son, 18 at the time, from a previous relationship. My cousin pumped out a couple kids with this man. I love that phrasing, that pumped out. Like this is like a factory or something. Have you guys ever seen the Star-Bellied Sneetches, the Dr. Seuss book with the rhyming, the Star-Bellied Sneetches? Like they're going through like the star machine and they're just getting pumped out with stars. That's what it makes me think of when people say they're pumping out their kids. It's like there's just steam coming out of the mom's mouth, like It's like, we got 4 more kids today. Let's go. Pick it up. We gotta be done by 9. We gotta be out of here by 9. Oh, jeez. My cousin pumped out a couple kids with this man. Couple years pass, my cousin is caught in bed with her husband's adult son, now in his mid-20s, while my cousin was in her 30s. Cousin and the husband divorce. Cousin keeps custody of their children. Cousin keeps seeing the adult son of her ex-husband. Couple years pass, and they pump out a few kids. Oh, my goodness. New factory. Or new manufacturer, maybe. I don't know. The dude is now a stepfather to his own half-siblings, and his own biological kids are half-siblings to his own half-siblings. This is way too confusing. We don't talk about my cousin anymore. Yeah, I can see why. It's just too freaking complicated. It's not even because of all the stuff they did. It's just that it's like, I can't even keep track of who's who anymore. Grandpa's my grandpa's sister's uncle, and he's also my brother. Like, what? Like, this is... You know how normal families work? This is not it. Okay, I know the whole idea is, the government's trying to push the nuclear family, right? There's this idea that the nuclear family is this kind of. First of all, I don't know why do they call it the nuclear family? I feel like they never really explained that growing up. Like are we the generation of people that are going to be they're just preparing us to nuke each other? Are we? I don't really understand where the nuclear family, like what does nuclear reactions have to do with mom and dad? Like yeah, we call it the nuclear family because everybody in these families ends up dying in a horrific explosion in the year 2025. And then there's this guy, and and he comes back from the future, and he meets this girl, and then he gets her pregnant, and then they're trying to fight off this robot guy, and this is why we call it the nuclear family. We're just fulfilling, and there's this this company called Skynet, and or it's not a company really. It's kind of just more of a thing, and it's just. We're just fulfilling the destiny. We have to set ourselves up for success. And the only way we can do that, we got to fulfill the destiny of, what's written in the stars, okay? So that's what we're supposed to do. But yeah, I can see why this is just, no one wants to talk about your family because they just get too freaking confused when they start bringing up cousins and siblings and half cousins and... and half and halves, can I get a double, with a half and half, little cream, no sugar type of thing going on here. This is a little bit too confusing. Next one comes from Don Suburban. A distant uncle was screwing his nephew's wife. They got caught, married a couple years later. She had 2 kids. Uncle has 2 kids. The kids are now step siblings and cousins at the same time. This makes for really awkward family reunions. Again, it's only awkward because nobody can keep this straight. I feel like if anything is if it's outside of step, right, or half, I don't think I think we need to of anything, okay? Divorces happen, it's no problem. Step kids, half siblings, blah blah blah. That stuff happens. I think once we start getting into the double names, you're also my grandpa but half sibling cousin, I think we need to start doing some deep inner reflection and realizing oh, my son is also my grandpa cousin father. I think that's when we start needing to do some reflection and being something's off here. I'm losing the ability to keep track of who's who and how we're all related. That's when I think we need to start doing a little bit of self-reflection, maybe a little bit of examination, and being maybe I should think twice before I sleep with my nephew's aunt's uncle's cousin's half sibling stepbrother, daughter thing, aunt, daughter, mother. I don't know. Next one, or reply from disgruntled capybara. Sometime in the late 90s, my aunt caught my uncle cheating on her with another married woman. They divorced. The other couple divorced. In time, she met the other woman's ex-husband, and a couple years after the divorce, they got married, and the other couple got married. Both families had kids, and so then the kids would shuffle between the 2 homes. Oh my gosh. My old uncle was a POS, and the new uncle is a great guy who treats my aunt well. I would definitely say it turned out for the best in her for the end, but I don't know how the kids feel about it. My aunt swapped houses with the woman who slept with her husband. Bro. It's yeah, you know what? Let's just make this easy on ourselves. She just realized, you know what? Let's just cut to the chase. Let's just swap homes. We're not moving out. We already got the mortgage payments. We don't want to be having some debt. This is purely logistical. We'll just switch homes. We're just gonna do the we're gonna do the old switcheroo, and that we're gonna leave it at that. It's well, okay, I guess you've got it figured out there. Next one comes from Zerby. After doing a DNA test, a family member found out he had a different dad to his siblings. Since his mother had passed away, he asked his aunt, who seemed perplexed that she'd never told him. Turns out she'd had an affair with a firefighter, also long dead. He was more amused than upset by the whole thing. Why? First, there's two things here. First of all, why would the aunt be surprised that the mother never told? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. If my mom died and my aunt was like, you didn't know that your mom didn't tell you that she was unfaithful to your dad and cheated on him and broke his heart, and that's why they drifted apart forever, and that's why things were different ever since you were born? She didn't mention that to you? She didn't mention why it was always awkward in your household growing up and why your dad and mom never hung out but still stayed together because they tried to keep the family together? She never told you why? It's like, I think there's a lot of reasons why they wouldn't. It seems like that might bring up a bit of old, memories. I think that might bring up a bit of unfinished business on their parts. I really think that information is only going to be even more devastating to hear again, especially if you're the dad there. It's like, yeah, why don't we just go through this whole thing again where this event happened that destroyed the fabric of our family? I think, why don't we just, let's relive that. Why don't we? Why don't we just go ahead and just keep living it over and over again? I love hearing about it. Oh my, I can't get enough. Just tell me, just love cheating stories. So juicy. Love it when it's my own wife and my own child. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I just can't get enough of that. What a cool story. What a juicy story. I can't wait to hear it again. But also, it's kind of just like, imagine, I'm just imagining the kid just being like, my dad's a firefighter. Looks over to his siblings and he's like, yeah, I knew you guys were a bunch of losers that I wasn't related to. Oh, this was, you know what? It was clear to me all along that something was not right, because I'm kind of dope as hell, right? Like, my dad, I could just tell by looking at you that your dad is not a firefighter. There's no freaking way your dad's a firefighter. I can tell that from people as soon, within 5 seconds of meeting them. I'm just like, yeah, there's no way your dad is sick as fuck. All right, there's no way your dad is a freaking firefighter. The coolest job. All right, not a chance. My dad, though, it explains why I'm so much doper than all of you. It explains why I'm so much cooler. Because my dad's a firefighter and your dad's just like a sad, depressed husband. So I think this kind of explains a lot. He's like, wow, I always knew I was freaking dope. I always knew I was so awesome. Wow, it's because my dad is a firefighter. Wow. Putting his life on the freaking line. Shout out to firefighters, though, for real. Next, a reply comment from Sultan of Suave. DNA tests come with warnings now about upsetting results. At least my Ancestry DNA test did. My DNA test was pretty dull, even though my father was a notorious womanizer. But when my nephew, by marriage, took one, he found not one, not two, but 3 half-siblings, all younger than him, all by different women, bedded by his father. And dear old dad was still married to his first wife until he died. Wow. Damn. This is like a problem. I don't understand. Why? Why do people do this kind of stuff? They're like, you know what? It's about time I cheat on my wife again for the 3rd time. I think it's, jeez, sun is coming out. It's cheating season. It's cheating time. Time to impregnate a couple women and never speak to them ever again, and have a couple long lost siblings for my son. How about that? I think that it might add a little bit of excitement into his life. You might get to the moment in life where he's kind of just like does one of these things and tries to figure it out. Guess what, son? You're gonna have a lot to discover. It's like, really is. Next one comes from OK Ali got sass. So my biological father had an affair with my mother's best friend and our neighbor. Later in life, he wrote a self-help book about parental alienation, blaming his kids for his mistakes. Well, I know who this book would be very popular with. All of the dudes in all of the fathers in this subreddit, in this Reddit thread, all of those fathers are reading this and they're like, it is my children's fault. It is my wife's fault. She didn't try hard enough to keep me around. She didn't try hard enough to not distract me from other women. Don't you know that men are just inherently attracted to every woman they see and just want to have sex with absolutely everything, so it's on the woman to keep the man around? Oh, look at this. Page 47. My wife doesn't cook enough. Wow. I'm feeling very validated in this moment. It's like, it's in this book, babe, right here. This book literally says you're not cleaning and cooking enough. This book says that women aren't supposed to have jobs anymore. All right, we passed that. We thought for a little bit that women were supposed to have jobs, but now we're back on the no. We're on the no train. This is what the book says. This is what the book says. This is a self-help book, okay? So help yourself and frickin' make me a sandwich or something, babe. Oh my God. This is actually how it sounds, though. Like, how could you, like, how is it, like, it's like, yeah, like, how could you be reading a book or writing a book being like, yeah, my kids were too needy, and that's why I left. I felt alienated because they wanted a real father who was there for them and supported them. Like, what? Like, yeah, they wanted me to come to their frickin' soccer games. It's like, whoa, smothering me much? It's like, yeah, Dad, can you drive me to baseball practice? Whoa, a little bit intrusive, okay? A little bit, you're kind of suffocating me. All right, I'm feeling suffocated. This is not, I'm not, like, I'm feeling a little bit claustrophobic, so if you just step away, give me a little bit of space here, okay? Breathing room. It's called breathing room. All right, I think I'm going to have to go to Thailand or Vietnam or something. Like, geez, I'm going out to get some milk. How about that? All right, I'm going to Daddy's going on vacation for a bit. Can you not realize Daddy's alienated? Because you guys are just so freaking needy. Oh, what? So I'm supposed to work to provide for you? My money's supposed to pay for you? It's not like pay for yourself. Like, kids, like, work in the coal mine or something. Don't they do that? Don't kids still do that these days? I'm pretty sure there's jobs out on the oil sands. I keep hearing about jobs out there. Why don't you go take your 5-year-old ass and start, breaking up rocks? Okay, I'm sure they need people in the mines down there. Just, it's not hard. Get a freaking job. Like, they need small, nimble people like you to, I'm pretty sure, and there's a lot of places across or over the world where they need you farming cocoa beans or sugar cane or something. Like, can't we just ship you to one of those and then you can come back with some money? Maybe learn a little bit of what hard work looks like. Maybe feel about what it's like to provide for yourself, okay? I do enough work providing for myself. You think I'm going to provide for you too? My own son? Wow, that's rich. That's rich. All right. Yeah, nice. Nice try, son. Next one comes from Epiphany Phoenix. My uncle was in love with and sleeping with his first cousin while he was married. During that affair, his wife got pregnant. My uncle didn't want his lover cousin to find out, so he made his wife get an abortion. Oh my gosh. So his freaking cousin he was having sex with wouldn't know he had been sleeping with his wife. What? You don't want people that sleeping with, like, she's your, oh my God. She's your cousin. I mean, this is so weird to say, but does your cousin not know that you have a wife? I feel like that's kind of like, I know whether my cousins have wives or husbands. That's kind of very basic information. Like, I feel like how does that not get brought up at the family get-together? Like, no one's bringing that up. No one's like, oh, how's, did you hear about Jim's wife? And she's like, wife? It's like, yeah, that woman he's always with, and they wear wedding rings around each other, and they're always kissing and hugging and going everywhere together. His wife. She's like, wow. Cheating on his own cousin with his own wife. How could he? You know what? I knew he wasn't the greatest guy, but this is just another level of low for me. How could you, like, how could you? I don't understand. Like, if there's any, like, I feel like it should have been the other way around. Like, if you got your cousin pregnant, you should, like, you should. Oh God, if you got your cousin pregnant, I feel like then he would be telling his cousin to, you know, get an abortion to prevent his wife from knowing. But this feels like a backwards, like, no, I'm going to tell my wife to get an abortion to prevent my cousin from knowing. That feels a little bit backwards, doesn't it? It's like, no, she can't find out. Like, I'm your wife. She's your cousin. It's like, yeah, I know it's complicated, but, you know, we're just really close, and we've grown up together, so it's just, she would be devastated to find out. Like, what? I'm your wife. Makes no sense. Next one comes from Fraggle Captain. My two first cousins. Oh my gosh, another cousin one. My two first cousins had a kid together after a drunken encounter in high school. This was 25 years ago. Kid turned out perfectly normal. They didn't have any more children, but they did end up raising the kid together as a normal family. I don't know what normal. And basically are married. We don't really talk about it. I mean, come on, do you really have to? Do you really need to? I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory what's going on here. Like, how are they in love? Like, they just, like, come on. Why did they, like, they didn't have to stay together. You guys doubled down. Like, come on, bro. You can't screw your cousin and double down. That's the, come on, dude. It's like, you're going to seriously sit there with yourself and think, damn, I had sex with my cousin. That wasn't a mistake at all. That was the right move. Like, I think we should raise this kid together, and we should love each other and be with each other for the rest of our lives. Come on, bro. That's not the time to double down. All right, this is not blackjack. This is incest. Okay? I didn't think I was going to have to explain that one to you, but this guy just has no remorse over having sex with his cousin. He's just like, nah. I just realized that there's no one who loves me better. There's no one who knows me better than my cousin. No one who's going to love me more. She already kind of has to love me because she's family. So this is kind of just, you know, this is narrowing the gap. This is narrowing the gap of love. You know, if we're really trying to look at it through that lens, I think that's kind of the way we should be looking at this. Let's maybe read off one more. A lot of these are about cousins, okay? All right, let's read this one. This last one's an interesting story. This one comes from Stormtrooper Bob. Not sure if it's really not safe for work, but I had an uncle, let's call him Ralph. Now, Ralph was married to Alice, and they were extremely toxic together. They got drunk and literally got into physical fights with each other. One day, Ralph posts on social media how sad he is that Alice finally left him, yada yada. No surprise there, and often other members of the family would say, oh yeah, we saw Aunt Alice at the Piggly Wiggly. She's a teacher in another state now. So we all thought that's what happened because there were these constant sightings of Aunt Alice. Fast forward 7-ish years later, and Uncle Ralph is diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. He was a chronic smoker, so no surprise there. They did all they could to save him and finally told him they would be surprised if he survived another month or so. He called a family meeting for a final goodbye, and that's when he admits to everyone, and I mean the whole family, was packed into this guy's hospital room, including a 13-year-old child. Anyway, he admits that 7-ish years ago, he murdered Aunt Alice and buried her body in the woods like he would, like where he liked to hunt. And that was that. He passed the following week. The police did find the remains, and Aunt Alice was put to rest. That's my family scandal in a nutshell. Wow. That is a wild story. He doesn't, he's... Family meeting, everybody. You know what? I think it's finally time that I say this. It's not I love you. No, never going to say that. Never going to say that. I've never actually felt it before in my life. I had no idea what love feels like. No idea what anything feels like at all. So it's kind of troubling. But I guess, as my last words, don't want to make it too sappy. Last words, you know how last words go. I'm not really a last words type of person. So I think we're just going to keep this short and sweet. But it's like, oh, he's doing his best. He's trying his best. And, it's important. What do you have to tell us, Uncle Ralph? Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, I guess I thought, there's really no better time to say this. But I brutally murdered my wife, your aunt, with an axe to the head. And then I chopped her body up into tiny little pieces, dug a 6-foot hole in the middle of the woods, and dumped her body in there. So, sorry to drop that bomb on you, but I think it's about time that I die now. I think I'm just gonna slowly lean back and just pass away. Yeah, that's not the, I'm glad you came clean about it, but it's I couldn't really imagine being the family in the room right now. Like, what are you feeling? Are you like, this is like, I'm glad he's dead? Like, he's a murderer, I guess? Like, he murdered Aunt Alice and buried your body in the woods. Like, that's kind of, like, I don't really, is this wrong? I don't really feel sad much anymore. I don't really know if I feel that bad about this whole situation anymore. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. All right, folks, we're going to cap it off there. Thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of the Red Asks Us podcast, the podcast where we read and react to comments from r/AskReddit. I am your host, Luke Digg. Now, remember, please leave us a rating and also leave us a review on whatever platform you happen to be listening on. It helps the show out immensely, so much. I can't wait to be back here with another week of content for you guys. So I will be excited to be here back with y'all. Peace out. Love you. Goodbye.